Hello, people. My name is Mohini Dey, and you're watching a brand new talk show, What a Melophile Wants. Now, once Michael Jackson said, if you enter this world knowing you are loved and you leave this world knowing the same, then everything that happens in between can be dealt with. A star can never die. It just turns into a smile and melts back into the cosmic music, the dance of life. Today, I have an extremely special personality who is one of the most incredible bass players of today's times. And he's not only a bassist, but also an educator. He has played in numerous albums, countless live and televised performances. Most of you might know him as Bass Nation, where one can learn to play the bass like no one. He's one of my favorites. Please welcome the amazing, incredible Daric Bennett.
What's going on, everybody?
Thank you for coming on my show, Daric.
Absolutely.
It's an honor to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. We just talked a little bit before, and I was just saying how much of an honor it was to finally be able to talk. I know we've seen each other in passing, at the NAMM show.
I think the time we met was at NAMM, right? Was it at NAMM or was it at Groove Gear?
It might been it. I don't know. It might have been. I don't know. All of it just kind of jumbles up together.
It was around NAMM, yeah.
Either way, it was around NAMM. That time.
Yeah.
Whether you were playing or whether we just saw each other in the hallway.
Yes. I saw you play at the Groove Gear on the Groove Gear stage.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a few years ago.
Was there.
That was fun.
Jazz, so many others. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
So firstly, really, I'm so happy to be talking to you. And how are you? Firstly.
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm in New York.
How are you coping up with this situation that we're all dealing with?
It's crazy. I was gonna say I'm in New York, so it's pretty crazy here. Well, it was crazy here, but we're just taking it one step at a time or one day at a time. Everything's kind of still shut down a lot. We're trying to open up things now, but I mean it was crucial. It was brutal back in maybe a month ago. But yeah, here, especially like I said, where I'm living is pretty tough. But yeah, we're getting through. Still keeping my head down. Working.
Pretty much the same here. I actually just came to my parents like yesterday, so this setup is not usually the setup I do my talk shows, and I usually have like all my cabinets in my backdrop.
Got you.
I used to.
Well, that's nice too. That's nice too.
It's nice. It's my old home. Some cool wallpaper going on.
That's good. That's cool.
Some carpet. Cool. I'm actually on the floor sitting and talking to you.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I wish I couldn't do that. I probably couldn't get back up if I did that. Gotcha.
Okay, so my first question to you is, I believe that music is a very powerful force which has the ability to evoke our emotions, thoughts, feelings, and our highest aspirations. To me, music is an outburst of my soul and my expression. I've always tried to sound as lyrical as possible and find ways to express myself through my music better and better day by day. It makes a huge impact. Let's warm up a little bit and tell our listeners what music is to you and how much weight does it hold. Give us a little insight on how you got introduced to music.
Yeah, that's an action-packed question. That's a huge question, but it makes sense to ask as a first question because you get an insight on where my background is.
Start from the very start.
Where I come from.
The story,
Exactly, where I come from. Well, first of all, I came from growing up in the church, playing gospel music in the beginning. So I had a lot of influences. My father was a big musician. He played everything, but he was really heavily into country music.
Oh, wow.
So like that blend and that fusion of music when I was playing gospel and like country, it was kind of different, so I was exposed to a lot of different styles of music, and not only that, but just starting to go to school, learning and getting big in jazz fusion.
So you did go to like a music school?
Well, I went to performing arts school. It was like a high school. It wasn't really too too heavily based in just straight up education, music education. Different classes, but we had it was
because I read somewhere like you're self-taught.
Yeah, I was self-taught until I went to even in high school I really didn't have a teacher. I was playing a different instrument. I didn't really have a bass teacher, and I was still kind of playing bass, and throughout I was throughout different years or my past years, the later years of high school, I started playing bass, but even still, I didn't have really a teacher. It was just an instructor, like the band, leader, but I didn't have a teacher. So I was still teaching everything myself and still trying to learn everything and research and trying to read a little bit better and, learning chords. And I would kind of mimic what the guitar player was playing and, try to play chords like he would and, try to figure out if he was missing, I would try to play the chords and the bass line at the same time. So that was really like more of experimentation when I first started to play. So I never really, like I said, I was self-taught, so I never really had somebody to like sit me down and say, hey, do this. So it was all, just really self-research and really just the love for the instrument. And I ended up just being, I didn't want to play bass in the beginning. Really, it was my dad that kind of,
I was going to ask you that. Like, did you always did bass choose you? Like, you chose the bass or something?
No, absolutely
not.
How
did it happen? Like, out of all the instruments, how did bass happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so funny because my father wanted to. We were playing in church, so my father was
a very unusual instrument to pick up at first.
It is, but the funnier thing is my father plays a pedal steel guitar. So that was an even more unusual instrument to play in church, or in the gospel scene. So he would play that, we would play, and my brother plays drums. So I wasn't playing anything at the time, and I was like, okay, I really didn't care. I wasn't really into music. It was like maybe I was like 9, 10 years old or something. So he was like, man, what if you just start playing bass? And I was like, okay, whatever. So he kind of really got me into playing bass, and then ever since when I picked it up, I just I couldn't put it down.
That is so similar to my story. Oh my God, my dad was also like, my dad was like, there is no female bass player in our country. Why don't I start teaching you? And then it's your choice whether you want to go ahead with it or pursue it as your profession or something. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll just do it. And then I just kept doing it.
Yep, same story. And it was intriguing to me, and I didn't really have a lot of influences in the beginning of my playing, and I just wanted to play. Like, so whatever instrument I heard, I tried to mimic. If my father was playing steel guitar, chords or line or, slides or whatever, I tried to mimic whatever he was playing. Or if he played guitar at the time, I tried to mimic that, or even horn players that I would hear. So I didn't really have too many bass influences when I started playing, but it was just kind of, it's what I had to play. That's what the instrument that I had. I just wanted to express myself in that way.
When did you know that you were becoming a pro player and that you really want to pursue it as your profession?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm a pro player, or not. But no, we all strive to become better. So you don't necessarily know exactly when that moment in time is when you become pro or just kind of choose to make this a profession of your own.
But just like, what I mean, like, like in my case, I was just doing it, and then something big happens in your life in that same field, and you're like, okay, no, I really should go ahead with this. I see something in the future. I go ahead with this.
It was funny because I saw that a little bit earlier on in my playing. When I knew I just wanted to play. I just wanted to do something with just playing, and everything else didn't work out. Any like regular jobs that I would try to get, they just didn't work out.
That was something I was going to ask. Did you try and do something else? Did you want to do something else apart from playing bass?
Absolutely. The thing is, I tried to follow in my father's footsteps, but because he's an engineer.
Okay.
So he's engineer. So I had a big math background, and I just kind of wanted to do something. But music was speaking to me a little bit more. So I kind of wanted to do something on the fields or on the line of that as far as a job. But everything I tried, it just did not. Nothing worked out, and I ended up just touring. And when I went to college, I didn't go to college for music specifically. But when I went to college, I started touring a lot and playing.
Right.
And I was missing a lot of classes, but I was touring all over the world, at the time. And I was like, man, what do I want to do? Do I want to tour? Or do I want to, stay in school and wait and study?
That is crazy. That's just like my story. Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. So I went. I was overseas. I did like a Europe or I was in Spain or something like that. One of my first tours, and I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was that life and that, the feeling that I got when I was playing, it just felt so great. And I was like, man, I can't give this up. Why would I wait? This is what I wanted to do.
Right. And you've spent so much time creating this beautiful foundation, strong foundation. And why would you want that to go for waste and for nothing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, what was that first big thing that happened to you in your musical career?
Oh wow. The first big thing. I didn't really have too many big things. It was just like it was maybe like crescendos up to up to
Like
where I am.
for example, I'll give you my example. Like when I started stepping into the music industry out here in India, there was a buzz around saying that said that there's this little girl playing bass, and then I started getting like recognition, and that's very unusual in India, a female playing
Yeah.
bass, that too,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, the buzz was out there. And for me, the first big thing that happened was my dad taking me to a drummer. And that's when I started playing
Mm-hmm.
with some other musician. Until then, I was only playing with myself. And that's a
Gotcha.
different thing. You need to do that so that you're good enough to play with those people, right?
Understood.
Yeah, so
Understood.
for me, the first big thing was that person. His name is Ranjit Barrett. He is John McLaughlin's drummer, actually, right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Nice.
I'm sure you must have had some kind of encounter with somebody or some situation that was
I,
big
I
for you.
I did. Like I said in the beginning, my a lot of my influences, as far as bass, I didn't have, but there was like this national convention that we would go to yearly, where a lot of the big guys would play, like that's in their church organization, and I would look up to those guys, and I just always wanted to be like, I just want to be better than those guys one day. That was my thing. And then earlier on in my playing, I got introduced. I'm sure most people got introduced to Victor Wooten, and I heard him, and I heard a completely different
Yeah.
vibe and completely different style of his bass
Style,
playing
yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
solo bass playing, but still, I mean, he's a bass player, but at the same time, he can solo his butt off, on top of that. So
Yes.
just these different
Yeah.
techniques that he would use. And I got introduced to that. I was maybe like 12 years old, and somebody showed me they gave me a CD and they told me to listen to it. And I was asking them, I said, is this like three or four people playing at the same time? So it was
Yeah.
confusing to me. I was like, how is this guy doing all of this by himself? And
Yeah.
it was the Show of Hands album,
Your fans,
and
yes.
it just that kind of just changed my whole perspective of
Yeah.
like and my whole perception of just playing bass. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I can really like be able to express myself, in a different way, the way that I want to. And
Right.
another one was Otil Burbridge. I got introduced
Oh,
to
to
him.
Burbridge, yes.
Yeah, a little, maybe a couple years later, and he
Yeah.
has a completely different style, but I think his style spoke to me a little bit more than Victor's. I mean, you get something, you grab something from
Yeah,
everybody.
you pick up different things, yeah, that you like,
Absolutely,
yeah.
but he was more. I loved his vibe and I love his feel and his expression, his free just
Yeah,
expression where
his
his mind would go.
phrasing and his
Yes,
choice of
it's
notes is just
exactly. Oh
amazing,
God,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, he's just an all around great bass player. But
Yeah.
just the things that he chose to do. So he really spoke to me in my playing in the beginning. So those guys really in the beginning were my biggest influences, along with Jaco. So it was like a mixture of several people that I had
Sure.
inside of my
Yeah.
church organization, like
Totally.
a guy named Rico Beard, a guy named Andy Mims, a guy named Alvin Lee. So it's a lot of my church influence that a lot of people don't know about. But these guys are killer monsters. They just don't,
Right.
they don't really get out there.
I'm not
But
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a concert that Victor Wooten played here in the city that I live in, and he played at a music store, and I went there, and like that changed my life completely. Seeing him, not just hearing, like
Yeah.
seeing him play and execute what he does. That was one of my biggest moments. I might have been 14 years old around that time. Just knowing that there's somebody,
Yeah.
at that level that you can reach to, getting
Right.
exposed that early on and you're playing, knowing that, I was playing early. I was pretty good. I thought I was great, because people would tell you, oh man, you're great, you're great, you're great. But then you hear
Yes.
these other people like, no,
Right.
I got a long way to go,
Yeah, I feel like
So
with times changing, we have to keep ourselves updated with time. We change as
absolutely.
people, we evolve and we develop in so many different forms. And
Yeah.
similar, like when I was 13, I saw Victor Wooten live in India, in Mumbai, and Ranjit Barrett, the drummer that I played with, he took me there. My dad took me there, and that was the first live concert I saw in my whole life,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
that changed my perspective too. Like I saw him, and he was playing with somebody named Prasanna that I was already gigging with, right? And
Gotcha.
I was in the audience seeing another bass player, and that was the first time I saw Victor Wooten. I already had seen a lot of YouTube videos of his and like his records and stuff, and that was the first time I saw him live, and I was like, I want to play like him. I want to sound like him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that just made me realize that you can actually play bass unlike bass. You can play the way you want to. There are no rules.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
can sound the way you want to, and that makes you feel better. You know?
No limitations at all.
Yeah, no limitations at all. And me, as an Indian girl growing up to be a bass player out here, I ended up playing with a lot of like percussionists, like tabla player and
Mm,
drummer and
yeah.
kanjira and mridangam, khatam, all these funky
Yeah.
instruments.
Nice.
And since I played with a lot of percussive instruments, I wanted to sound like them, and I started like constructing ways and exercises for myself to make myself sound good when I'm
Hmm.
playing with them. To make
Absolutely.
myself sound powerful, because what happens is like with bass frequency, sometimes if a drummer is playing a lick, sometimes if you play the same thing, same syncopated stuff, it
It
can
can
get
get
lost.
lost. Yeah, it can get lost.
It can get lost. So you need to find ways and construct ways to make your sound pop.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then
Absolutely.
also at the same time, if you're playing with a tabla player, which is a much dynamically softer instrument, you gotta tone it down. So these
Yep.
dynamic ranges are so important, which
Yeah.
obviously comes from a lot of experience and a lot of playing with
Oh,
different people.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's funny
Yeah,
that you speak to that because that has to do not just with playing or how to play. You have to know where your instrument fits and lies in the mix of what you're playing or who you're playing
absolutely.
with, and that's so
Yeah.
important as far as
And I feel
EQ,
like it's so
tone, and
easy when you play like live because everything's so loud. But then when you record in the
oh,
studio,
that's different. It's a different
you
story.
know, that's when
Yeah.
the true story comes out.
Absolutely, completely different story. Yeah, you have to approach that a completely different way. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's tough. It's tough. Like you said, like a live setting, you get the energy. You know, you can have some mistakes be there. You might not hear because some things are not really heard. But once you get in the studio, everything is
Ah,
perfectly, in tune and mixed and mastered
intricate
perfectly. So you
details are
hear
going to be
everything.
revealed.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. So you hear everything. So it's tough to,
yeah. It's tough.
it's funny as you said that too because I started recording myself very young, and I heard a lot of my mistakes that I played
Right,
when I recorded myself. So I wanted to try to perfect those. So
right.
just hearing it straight raw back
Like the
when you're
string
listening back to
buzz,
yourself, oh God, yeah, everything. What you wanted to
everything.
hear, what you didn't want to hear,
Right,
what you liked, what you didn't like, and that was my way of kind of practicing and just kind of perfecting my sound. Every time I recorded myself,
right.
I just wanted to make it better and better. And I recommend that to everybody. Just that's
Yeah,
playing. Not even if it's you don't have the proper recording instruments. Everybody has a phone. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure you can
Phone,
just record.
phone.
You
Yeah,
can record yourself on your phone and
yeah,
just listen
yeah.
back to your progress. The more and more you do it, the more I
Yeah,
think the
I
better and
used
the
to do
cleaner
that
you'll
too
get.
because I didn't have a computer, and we as family were really not very financially strong at that time. So
Hmm.
when I would go to like rehearsals and stuff, I have this like a recorder, like a very iPodish. I don't know what would you call it, but it's almost like this square kind of device, MP3 player, which had like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
record
Yep.
button.
It was absolutely
Like
yeah,
very
yeah,
old, very old,
yep.
and those CD players, which also used to have like a record button.
Record.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
yeah.
Whatever
So
way you
like
can get it in. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I would like go to rehearsals and I would record everything and then go back home and try to understand why is this happening. And like in India, Konakol is such a big thing, like Takadimi Takitas. We see time
Yeah.
signatures as Takadimi Takitas. For us, our approach is very, very different. So when I go to the west side, like to the USA, and I play with like a lot of US musicians. They look at it very differently. But in my head, I'm thinking that way. But when they say, I can understand their language too because I'm
Yeah.
trained on that as well.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
but when I'm approaching from when I want to be creative, I'm looking at it from the
From
Takadimi
you.
point of view.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Very
that's so cool.
interesting. I
But it's
like
so
that.
amazing. Like music is such a universal language. Like everybody says, no matter what you do, no matter how you think, the way you approach it, you still meet at the same point.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's true. Everybody has that. It comes full circle. Whenever you're like even in a band setting, it works the same way. Like every instrument,
right.
comes back full circle. You might think one way, especially like in the way that you grew up and the way that you learned. I might
Yeah,
not have any clue or any idea of how you learned or what you came up with. But once we
right.
come together, I'm sure we can start vibing off of each other.
Yeah, and
Some
isn't
things that
that
I've
such a
done,
beautiful thing? And
yeah,
I
it's
learned
beautiful.
it that way too. As a kid, when I was at home watching like all these DVDs that my dad would, borrow from his friends, and he would get it at home. And no matter how late it is at night after his shows, he would come and he would wake me up and he would give me my lessons, and
Yeah,
he would put
yeah,
the CD on the DVD player, and I would like rewind and hear every single note and learn it. So it would take like hours. Oh my
yeah,
God, sleepless nights, and
yeah.
I feel like that has made my ears very, very strong. Like today, when I
Absolutely.
hear tracks, I don't have to stop, pause, or anything. I can just sing it and play it on the bass. It's that easy,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. It's the training and
That
experience. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And that brings me to my next question, actually. In my earlier episodes, I've spoken about like involvement, development, transformative individuality that happens through years. But everyone's journey is so different, like I said. How did you evolve as a person? And was it the same growing up to be a musician? Or were there two different paths that you had to go through as a kid to find this one route which made you have this marriage between your music and you as a person?
Wow. That's a huge question. Um, yeah, I mean the relationship that I have basically with music, or the route that I have, is definitely a long journey, because you
Yeah.
learn different things throughout
Because
your
sometimes what happens is
career.
like people have confusions, like do
Absolutely.
you want to be this musician or do you want to be this person? And sometimes they're two different people, and
Hmm.
you don't know, you're
Yep.
confused.
You're right. Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. And is some people get discouraged on what route to take. We
Yes.
spoke a little bit on that a little bit earlier when I talked about, what should I do when I was in college? Should I go this
Yeah.
route? Should I do this? Is this
Yeah.
really a, can I make this into a successful career? Just because of the reputation that it has behind it, as far as musicians and trying to create this and make this a career. And I was like, it
Yeah.
might be a tough road, but is this what I really want to do? And I had to sit and think, and and that's the decision I had to make. I said, this is what I love to do. If I can possibly create a career or make money doing it, that's the life. That's pure happiness to me.
You're happy.
So I didn't want to do something that I wanted to, that I will be miserable in, like a regular job. And I mean, no shade on anybody that does that. That's just not what I would love to do. So I
Right.
had to make that decision, just for my true happiness. And I've had obstacles along the way, kind of people telling me like, you need to have a backup plan. I don't think that's going to work out. And
Yeah.
it just, you have to get over that and try to figure
I
out
think we
what
can
is going to be
happily
best for
say
you.
that one needs to have belief in themselves. They need to
Absolutely.
believe in themselves, because if you
Absolutely.
don't, then nobody's going to believe in
That's
you.
that's
And
what
it
that's
doesn't
what it
matter
boils
if
down to.
anybody does, but like you need to. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's what it boils down to. Because at at, at that time, I had to say for myself, like I said, I had to say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is
Yeah.
what's going to make me happy. I feel like, not even really knowing the future or knowing the road, I just knew this is what I wanted to do
Right.
in some capacity. And I've done just about everything. I've toured for years. I've toured all over the world. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've played for countless artists and recordings and things like that. I've done the whole musician thing. Now I'm in another journey, these past maybe 4 or 5 years, and what I'm doing still musically, doing what I love to do and what I've been doing for
Right.
for a very long time. So,
Right.
like you said, just to sum it up, you have to just believe in
Yeah.
yourself that this is what you want to do. If it's
Yeah.
just a hobby, if it's a side thing, and if that's what you choose to do, no, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you want to
Yeah.
make this a career, if you really want to be successful in this, and you just want to say, I want to go
There
full
can't be
force,
any BC option.
it
Yeah.
it can't be any BC option. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's that's where I live right now. I guess.
That's beautiful. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I've always really loved your tone, and you've got a great pocket. I dig it so
Oh, thank
much.
you.
And I get a lot of questions on this topic, which is how do I develop a solid time feel and solid tone? Because for bass, it has so many frequency levels. You can literally do so much with it. And a lot of people have a hard time finding their sound,
Yeah.
finding their voice. So, what
Yeah.
would you tell them?
Oh gosh, this is one of the questions that I get all the time.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
It's like the number one or number two question, other than
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
strings you use. But
Or
what I would have to say,
how can I play fast?
how can I increase my speed? There you go. That's the other question. I have one for that too. But how to find your sound or find your voice, like we mentioned earlier, as far as listening to other instruments. I can't stress that enough. If you're listening to bass player or even just one bass player, you end up just sounding like that bass player. So therefore, you won't have your own voice. You'll have their voice.
Yeah.
So you end up trying to just mimic or just replicate their sound. But
Yeah,
at the
you're
same time,
copying.
if you
You're like
yeah,
literally
exactly.
copying.
A carbon copy of the person that you're listening to. So
Yeah.
spread and widen your horizon as far as who you're listening to create that voice, to create a blend of different sounds to where somebody can't say you sound just like that person or sound like just like this person. And that's what I contribute my bass playing to, as far as listening to different instruments, like you said, with
Yeah.
percussionists, with just different instruments. It could be something as
Yeah.
simple as rhythm styles or
Yeah.
rhythm like
I feel like
changes or
it's
anything
very
like that.
important to listen to different musicians than just one musician,
Absolutely.
because it's very
Absolutely.
limited. And then, although a lot of people will say, on that note, of what we just said, although a lot of people will say that first step is copying. Like, how do we otherwise play? Which is true. You need to copy to understand what
True. To an
you're
extent, yeah.
listening to, and to educate yourself why this has been used, why this inversion, why this is
Yep.
dynamically softer than this, and
Yeah.
why is the tone such, and blah blah blah. That is the first step, and I believe the second step is to study that, educate yourself, and then put your own thing onto it. And the third
Mm.
step is to completely modify and infuse your voice to it, and you sound yourself. Then I also believe, like, you already have your voice. Everybody has their own voice, they just don't know it. Like you
Right.
mentioned, like, people need to believe in themselves, because
Yep.
everybody is
Absolutely.
born with one, and you just need to, like, finesse and polish it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like those. I like those steps, and that's what I would say too, as far as learning the fundamentals on why the stuff works. On
Yes.
most people that come and play, they've already been playing, and then they choose to try to figure out what they've been doing. So that's
Right.
a lot of students. That's a lot of students that I've had, and
Mm-hmm.
well, mainly they just kind of experimenting with the sound, and then eventually say, okay, what am I doing? So,
Right.
like you said, learn why this stuff works. Learn why we're doing this. If you're listening to me, why I'm doing this technique
Hmm.
or these different inversions with these chords, learn why this makes sense, and then figure out how
Absolutely.
you can flip it in your own voice. To just try
Absolutely.
to flip it in, even if it's a
Yeah.
lick or a riff or a bass line or something like that, something small, to just flip
Yeah.
a note, flip a rhythm, flip anything.
Exactly. Don't play
And
exactly the same. That's basically
yeah,
just cheating.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and I get a lot of questions too about playing covers and things like that. And when I play covers, I'm not going to play it just like whoever
Yeah.
played it. That's just
Exactly. That's why it's
was
called cover. It's
it's
not.
exactly that's why it's called a cover. So I'm going to put my own interpretation of
Yeah.
what I've gotten from the bass player that has played
Yeah.
on the record or the album or the song or whatever, and then put my own spin on it. And that's really where that comes from. Listening to people and trying to flip it. Even if you're listening to one person, you
Mhm.
can still kind of flip what they're doing to create that voice or to create that sound, which I think is
Right.
is very important as a musician.
Very
Period.
important. Yeah. So
Very
true.
important.
So true. What made you start your bass nation, your cool bass lessons that you put
Wow.
up? When and how? How did this come up?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny because it wasn't supposed to be as big as it's grown now.
Yeah, it's
That really
big.
wasn't that really right. It really wasn't the intention in the beginning. I really wanted to create some type of outlet for a lot of my online Skype students,
Yeah.
one-on-one students, to be able to create
Uh-huh.
something for everybody at one time. And that time, I think I had maybe it was probably about 5 years ago. I might have like maybe 20 or 30 students at the
Okay.
time, and I was like, man, this is kind of getting well. If you've done lessons before, it kind of gets
Right.
uh,
Yes.
kind of crazy. So
Yeah, it is
uh,
crazy. It's a job.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
it gets crazy in the scheduling and things like that. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to.
also saying the same things is kind of a little bit
Oh yeah.
exhausting after a point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are in the same place.
Same place.
You have
Yeah.
those people that are different that learn different as
Right.
well. So I wanted
Right.
to create some type of platform. So it was funny because one of my students actually came to me with the idea of me creating this platform.
Platform. Yeah.
And he's like one of my best friends now. So we started this business together. We started it low. We didn't expect it for it to be this wide. But education is something that's been big to me. I've been teaching ever since I got right out of high school.
Right.
So I've been teaching since I was 18, 17 years old. I've been teaching. So this has been my passion for a long time, and I've been doing private lessons and one-on-one lessons for forever. But this has definitely grown to where more people
Indeed,
can.
indeed. You know,
It
I
can
salute
benefit.
you for your consistency in posting stuff
Oh,
on social
thank you,
media. I mean, like, I am active on
thank you.
social media, but like, I'm not consistent. Like, I
Yeah,
try,
it's tough.
but oh my God, it's a job, it's a work, you know? Unless you
It
have
is.
like people managing you, and then it's
Yeah,
kind of easy. But like, if you're the only one doing it, oh my God.
yeah. It's definitely
Don't
that's
you get
possible to.
tired?
Oh
Do you get
gosh, yeah.
tired?
That's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother discussion. But
Oh
yeah,
God,
absolutely. I mean, I've known people to have different people set up their stuff and manage their things for them, but it's me. It's
it's
me.
you.
So
Wow.
it's tough to do and it's tough to keep it going. But I know how many people that it benefits. So I have to keep going until I get to a point where I know somebody can handle that for me. But I like being
Right,
personable. I
right.
like being able to interact with people as well.
Yeah,
So I like to put out as much as possible to try to reach as
yeah.
many people as I possibly can. Not even just
Right.
joining the academy, just trying to put out information. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I put out are lessons. Are different
Yes, yes.
pieces of advice and things like that. And I just want people to be able to learn and to be able to get the satisfaction and the love that I have for playing bass.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
that's the most important thing to me. But like I said, with the bass nation, it just is grown to crazy capacity. And I mean, I'm just looking
It's your
forward to the.
dedication and
Yeah,
consistency and like all the hard work that you put in. I can't
absolutely.
imagine. Like,
Absolutely, it's tough. I
yeah.
definitely wanted to quit
Like,
several times.
like I'm doing
Uh,
these talk shows now, and we're almost on the 20th episode now. So I
oh
can
wow,
tell, like, yeah. So
nice.
one day, hopefully, I'll hit 100.
Yeah. Oh no,
But
yeah. You'll definitely get there.
yeah, so I do everything
And
myself as well, you know.
yeah, it's tough.
Working on
It's
my,
tough.
yeah, I'm working on my record. I'm with my family, and I have two dogs. I cook, and I have my own house and everything, and I'm
Yeah,
practicing at the same time, and it's like
yeah.
it's hard. It
Yeah,
is
it's
hard.
a lot. It's a lot of work. It's
A
a
lot of
lot of
work,
work.
yeah.
But if you love doing it, it makes
Yeah.
it that much easier to do if you love doing it. And this is
Absolutely.
what I
But
love to do.
like sometimes when you're a touring musician, like I tour a lot, and I also do a lot of Bollywood recordings, like all the movie recordings and stuff. So sometimes you get
Yeah,
like files sent over, and then you have to, during these lockdowns, usually it's sent over. Or if it was the normal day routine, then I go to the studio and I
absolutely.
record there. But
Right.
now it's a lot of recording sessions. So like you would be sitting in front of the laptop for like 6, 7 hours, and then
Oh wow.
you got to do this and that
Yeah.
and this and so many other things.
Wow.
It's a job. So I can
Sure.
imagine, like, that's why I wanted to ask you this question, like, do you get tired? Because I'm getting tired now.
Yeah, it's tough. Like you said, you've been doing it for how long?
Sorry.
How long have you been? How long have you been? You say this is the 20th
Yeah,
episode, or the?
I started.
How,
I started, say, a month ago. Yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna get tired. So it's only been a
Yeah.
month. I can say for now, it's coming up on 4 years consistently that I've started Base Nation Academy. So
Yeah.
um,
But see, that's the
it's
kind of devotion one
oh god,
needs to do something if
yeah,
you really want
yeah.
so
I mean,
bad.
I put this in the same relationship or in the same space as
Same. Yeah.
you're playing.
Same.
As
Same. Yeah.
trying to figure out how to play and
Totally. Totally.
learning how to play and growing your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
You
No
have to
matter
be
if you
you
did
got to
like 80, 18, 19 hours journey, you come back, you have to do your work. It's your work.
absolutely you got to be consistent. With
Yeah.
with your journey. I figured this is the same way. I think that's why it's a little bit easier for
That's
me as
me,
far
by
as
the way. I just did an 18-hour car journey and I came. So
wow
now, yeah.
wow 18
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, 18 hours.
Yeah, see now that's what I can't get used to. I don't like
No,
driving
I
like that.
had to because things were getting like so bad, and I like recently broke up with my ex,
Okay.
almost like half a month ago, and we were like together for 4 years, and I was
Wow.
not
Sorry to hear
feeling
that.
by myself there. I left Mumbai, this city, for that guy, and I moved to that city where he used to live, and then we broke up, and then I'm like, okay, I need to get back to my parents now. There's no really
Yeah. Like why am I
reason
here?
to
Yeah.
stay here anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I had to make this move with my two dogs, and I just came. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's well. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah. Once you get once you get in the groove of things, and you start getting back
Yeah.
into, okay, this is what I need to do.
I feel
It
like
becomes
people should add good things to you and not take away things.
absolutely, absolutely. That's like with my wife now. She just adds, when I'm having a tough
It's
day.
not worth it
Uh,
if it's the
oh gosh,
other way
yeah,
around.
it's not, if you don't have
And
somebody on
I'm
your team.
very, very like, workaholic. I'm very
Oh
workaholic.
God,
I
yeah,
love my
yeah,
work. I love my music. I love my family. And if I don't get what I deserve, there's no issue.
absolutely,
No matter if you've been
absolutely.
with that guy for like 8, 9 years, if down the line everything fades away, there's no use.
Absolutely. Like I said, you got to have somebody on your team, and if it makes it
Abs-
harder for you, it is easier for you. I don't think
yes.
I don't think it's worth it. But
Yeah.
everybody has their own story, and I feel like
Yeah.
if you have somebody on your team, it's going to make it that much easier. That much
Absolutely.
easier to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You
So, good
should
luck with your
inspire
new
each
journey.
other. Should inspire each
Yeah,
other. It shouldn't be one
absolutely.
sided. Yeah, it should be two
Yep,
sided.
absolutely.
That's took another turn. Sorry about that.
Interesting. No, no, interesting question. Interesting
Yeah.
question.
Now, did you have any goals, dreams as a kid growing up?
Wow.
Like I
Not
wanted to
really.
become a fashion designer,
I really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right,
As a
exactly.
kid, you have those regular dreams and goals as far as jobs, and like policeman, fireman, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but like some
But
people, they're like, I want to win the Grammys one day, or I want to play with that musician one day. I want to play with this artist one day.
yeah,
Kind
yeah. It was more so for me being able to play overseas, like be able to tour, to be able
Yeah.
to play in front of
You
big
should come
crowds.
to India.
Oh, that would be great. That's like one place I haven't been. Like that's probably like the
Yeah.
only
People
place I
would
haven't been.
love you. People already love you in here. We have
that
a great fan following in here.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome. That would be so awesome
Yeah.
to. Yeah, that was my goal. That was my dream. Like when I finally started to play, I was like, I want to be able to play in front of these big crowds, in front of these big
Uh,
people. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I ended up doing, which was great earlier on. So I had to set new goals, for
mhm.
myself. I did that when I was like 16, 17 years old. So I was like, okay, what's the next? What's the next thing? So
Right.
trying to create more goals after that is, I'm definitely been blessed to be able to do that so early, and to kind of crush all of those goals earlier
Yeah.
on, and still trying to reach a lot of them now
Yeah.
that I make for myself. But yeah, that was
That's
one of them.
that is beautiful. Okay, this is the last question. When
Okay.
was the first time you heard of me?
Oh
And this has
gosh.
been taken from a lot of our videos, like on YouTube and stuff. So
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's so funny because my business partner now, he absolutely loves you.
Oh,
Absolutely loves you. And I had no idea who you were. This was years ago. I had no idea who you were.
yeah.
So he would send me videos of you. And this is probably like maybe right before I started Base Nation. It might have been about 5 years ago.
Okay.
He sent me, it was like you had this crazy video on Facebook kind of circulating around, and it had like almost, it probably had like millions of views. I can't even remember how
I think it
many.
was with Gurga Borlai.
It might have been that one. It might have
Day
been
by
that one.
day.
It might have been that one. I think it was.
Yeah.
And then he sent me that. He
Was it
said,
like
"Okay,
really fast?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes."
That
So it had
that
to it had to be that one. So he sent it to me, and he was like, "Man, check this girl out." So I looked at it. I was like, "Okay, this can't be real. This can't be real." So I'm looking it up, and I'm seeing other things, and I'm kind of researching. It's like, wow, yeah. And I think I immediately followed you wherever you. I don't even know if it was
Oh.
Instagram back then, but I think, yeah, it was Instagram back then. I think I like immediately followed you. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely amazing, phenomenal basis. That's why it's so funny that you asked me to ask to talk to me, and I feel like I should be talking to you, which is what I usually do. To
Well, we
basis
can do
of
that one too.
yeah, that would be awesome to be
That would
able to
be
get you on, and the basis of your caliber. Like I should be interviewing you and hearing your story. That's how I
that would
feel.
be
But
interesting. Yeah,
but
that
yeah, it's
would be.
about five, probably about 5 years ago. You're absolutely phenomenal. No
Oh,
no
thank
need
you.
to say. No
Thank
need
you.
to say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wish one day we get to play with each other
Oh
someday.
gosh, yeah. That would be
Yeah.
awesome. I would love
Yeah.
that. I would love to
I
almost probably get
absolutely
the
love your
opportunity
playing,
at
your
man.
sound, the
Oh,
vibe, everything.
that I appreciate that, and I'm still working. I'm still hard on myself, but I do. I appreciate that.
We're
Really
all
do.
trying. We're all trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Same in the same
Yes.
spot, in the same place.
Well, thank you so much. And
No.
now we're on to the rapid fire round. You have to answer this
Okay.
quick. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let's
What's your
go.
favorite food?
Food?
Yeah.
Asian food, like
Asian.
sushi, like stuff. Yeah,
Sushi. Okay.
yeah.
Isn't that Japanese?
Is it Japanese?
I don't know.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, I always go to different. I don't know. Either one. Like Asian, Chinese. That I mean,
Okay. Cool.
Japanese food. I love all.
Okay. Cool. Maybe it will change after we come to India.
It might be. That is probably one. I should have said that actually. Indian, yeah. Indian food is probably one of my favorites too. No, seriously, I really just had that last night, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, but out there it's like different. It's the improvised version. Here is the real
Yes,
thing. Yeah.
right. It's improvised, but I
Yeah,
think
but
I
you
got a
get a
taste
hint
of
of
what it
it.
is.
Yeah, you get a hint.
Yeah, it's a hint, and if it tastes like I think it does, and if it's better there, then yeah, I absolutely love it. So I
Yeah.
changed my top. That's it. My top is Indian.
Okay, cool. If you could switch to any other instrument, what would it be?
Keyboard,
Keyboard.
piano.
Yeah,
I
I
would
guess.
love to play.
Okay.
I can't play at all, but I would love to play.
Me neither. What annoys you the most?
Oh God. Uh, this can't be a rapid fire question.
It
Um,
is. It has to be like for me. It's no. I'm not gonna say. You have to answer it because then I would be giving you hints.
well, no, I mean, for me, what
Like
annoys.
anything. Like for me, it's like when my battery dies of the base. It's the most annoying thing.
So I guess I don't know. For me, the most annoying thing right nowadays are like is traveling, like airports. That's
Yeah,
annoying to me.
annoying. Hmm.
I can't stand it. Like the TSA, all of that now. Like years ago,
Yeah,
it used to be fun, but now it's terrible.
it's true.
Hate hate
Yeah,
it.
I get annoyed by stupidity and
Oh gosh, yeah,
you
that
know.
too, that too. And I would say how would I say this? Uh, the need to feel like you don't need to work hard for something that annoys me.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
annoys me. The
Yeah,
the microwave, you want it instant. The microwave satisfaction, that type
yeah,
of thing. You want it
right,
tomorrow, and you don't work
correct.
hard for it. That annoys me a lot.
Yes, true, true. Describe yourself in 4 words.
Ooh, I would say I am ambitious. I would say I am fun. I would say I am very logical,
Hmm.
and I
And
would say, was it one more? Did I do three?
yeah, yeah. One more. Okay, I'll say that. You're very
Just say,
hardworking. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of along the line of ambition, I would think.
Yeah, true, 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 true.
Hard working. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely hard work goes without
Are
saying.
you
But yeah,
professional? Like very professional?
yeah, I can be. So I probably need to tone it back a little bit. But that's where that fun kind of comes in. I have to
Yeah.
figure out the balance between it.
Right.
But yeah, that's I think adventurous too because I love to travel too. Love to
Logical,
travel. Yeah,
practical. Hmm.
absolutely practical. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep, yep. A
Cool.
mixture.
Last one. Yeah. Last question of the rapid fire. Tell my listeners something personal that the whole world don't know about you.
Oh my gosh.
It could be
It's
anything,
it's
like a
it's it's
habit
so
in a
it's
day or
so
something.
hard because I've already said a lot of things to a lot of people about myself that they
Something
don't know.
that they don't know. Yeah.
Something that they don't know.
Yeah.
This ended up not being as rapid as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
Something that they don't know.
Hmm. That's why I
I am,
started with what is your favorite food?
yeah. I mean, that's probably something that people don't know either. But something that they don't know. I'm currently like learning Spanish right now, which is random. Um,
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it's very
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 cool.
random. It was funny because it stemmed from me being in Spain for a long time, and I got
Oh.
frustrated, and I had no idea. Like I never took Spanish in school or anything like that. So right afterwards, I kind of dove into started learning Spanish. So
Oh,
I don't know. That's weird. Nobody
that's
knows that.
nice. Awesome. So now my listeners know something that they didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. It
That was
was
fun.
lovely
That was fun.
talking to you, Derek. Thank you so
Same
much once
here.
again for coming on my show. It was so lovely talking to you.
Same here. Same here. It was a pleasure. Pleasure was all mine. Hopefully, I can get you and we can have a discussion. I can interview you one time or sometime.
Absolutely. I
That would
would
be
love
great.
that. I
That would
would
be
love
great.
it.
That would be great.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much.